America Fest. It's an awesome event. They hold every year. This is 2023. We've got some great people here in attendance. Mitchel Morrison, correct, as former FBI, and he's joining us here today on the set of the America Project. Mitch, I just find it so fascinating right now. There's so much in the news about the FBI, these three-letter agencies. You worked for the FBI, no longer there. What's your top-line thoughts? I mean, I think most people will say, hey, the corruption's at the top, there's a lot of rot at the top. The street agents are to be commended, great guys. What is your assessment of the FBI?
Well, there's a term called mission critical today, but it should really be called critical mission. The critical mission of the FBI is to protect the United States from enemies, foreign and domestic, and to track down crime. They're not doing that. They're not stopping human trafficking. They're not stopping drugs. They're not stopping, in my opinion, espionage, counter-espionage through counter-espionage efforts. And I don't believe we're doing a very good job because I think that they've switched from going after groups that were very dangerous back in the day, like the Ku Klux Klan, organized crime, spies, and now they're going after parents of schools.
Really, it's an agency that has been not just weaponized, but really, how would you even describe that? Captured. I mean, they are now political, an arm of the administration. The
progression is very dangerous. It started off with Robert Mueller, who became the FBI director, appointed by George Bush, and then my ex-roommate, I don't want to mention his name, but he became the head of counter-espionage and counterterrorism for the FBI. And then they brought in 11 new divisions. They had 12. Things like white-collar crime, organized crime. They had, espionage, bank robberies. But now they added all these divisions, and they were bureaucratic divisions, all headed up by attorneys. Now that's where the political agenda shifted, where they could now do a political agenda and actually even go after political enemies and people that they thought need to be silenced.
But there are guys there that work at the agency that have got to be looking at what's going on and saying, this isn't right, but they're too afraid to speak out. Is that the problem?
So they don't tell you that when you go to Quantico and get your training. You work really hard, you have to do the physical stuff, you have to pass constitutional law, and you get out and you're like, whoa, I made it. I'm out in the field, I'm ready to go. And then they tell you kind of how the cow eats the cabbage, and that's not too good. Now, if you're working bank robberies, let's say, you're working bank robberies. If you're working espionage, you're probably working espionage. It's a lot of the other areas where they're putting people on and inventing basically investigations that aren't even warranted. It's like some of the politicians are saying, we're just trying to go after the people and invent a crime for them.
What is your sense on Christopher Wray?
Horrible. Well, first of all, he's like almost every FBI director. He never went to Quantico. Mueller didn't go to Quantico. None of these guys. They're all ex-Justice Department or prosecutors or whatever. So we need an FBI director who actually became an agent, went through Quantico, worked in the street, and then understands the FBI. But you bring in these outsiders, and Comey never was an agent. He was an attorney. So now Comey is even worse than Wray, but he's horrible.
How do we reform the FBI, or do we?
New president.
But some people say, even with the new president, it's so deep, you almost just have to scrap it and start from scratch.
You probably have to have someone like me come in and just cut all the unit chiefs, all the section chiefs, go in and say, who are you, what's your job, what do you do? And go in there, and I believe the FBI budget is inflated, but not near as much as some of the other. Homeland Security is breaking our country. It's so expensive, and we're not doing a very good job. But all you have to do is take it as almost like a business, which Donald Trump didn't do. He should have eliminated Comey even before he took office. I mean, every other politician has always wiped out those kind of people. The CIA director, the FBI director, Department of Treasury, whatever. So my advice to Trump is get rid of everybody on day one, bring in new people, but make sure those people have experience.
Yeah. So you think it can be salvaged, but we've got to go in with a fine-tooth comb and weed out all the bad eggs.
The CIA has been very corruptible for many years. They do side deals. They're able to start businesses and make a lot of money. These are the agents. That's why they call it the difference between the company and the agency. The agency are the people that work at the agency, and the company are the guys out in the field who make deals at foreign levels and make a lot of money. And that corrupts them a lot of times, and they lose their way. Now, the FBI, they don't pay you that much. You can't really go that far afield. You'd have to be on the take, and some of them are. Some of them have been paid to cover up things and not tell the truth.
It's fascinating. I want to get your take on something else that's making headlines. A lot of people are talking about right now, and that is FISA. And we just had the NDAA, the defense bill, signed or passed, and it's on the president's desk to sign. And in that NDAA is an extension, a clean extension of FISA and 702 for another 4 months. What's your take on FISA and how it's being abused, and what does the American public need to know about FISA?
Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act is the most flawed system we have to thwart espionage and spying. The only reason to have FISA is to see if American citizens are collaborating with someone who's our enemy. If you're a spy, we can spy on you all day long. We don't need a warrant. We don't need a judge. If you're a U.S. citizen, then they need one. But here's the thing. The judges themselves don't have their own detectives. They don't even have their own investigators. So if I come in with a 302 form, which is signed by one FBI agent, and then signed off by a unit chief who says, okay, this is okay, then I can say Donald Trump Jr. was in the same restaurant with Anatoly Kaluzhny, the Russian spy. We need a FISA.
And they just sign off on it.
And they just sign off. And they don't have their own investigators to thwart what they always trust the FBI.
So out of 100 FISA applications that come in, they're signing off on 99?
Well, on Trump was Peter Strzok. Peter Strzok signed that. My old roommate was his boss. And he told me, he said, yeah, I knew the guy. If he was on a football team, he'd be third string and we'd make him carry the water. He was a loser.
About Peter Strzok.
About Peter Strzok. But he also became very damaging because think what he did to Donald Trump. If it wasn't for that, they wouldn't have had anything to go with on impeachment.
And that's just with Donald Trump and his folks. The American people, though, they are now concerned because we're hearing news stories coming out that it's being used against them, right? Not just like you're second removed from Donald Trump. You know, parents at school board meetings, and if you, even Google search going to the Capitol on J6, you know, that these things are being used to spy on everyday average Americans, and it's very scary for the public to hear that is being abused in this way. Do you think it's that serious that people need to be scared that the government's spying on them?
Well, anybody who's ever been fingerprinted has an FBI file. So think about that. You have to be fingerprinted for insurance, stockbrokers, teachers. So you have a very small FBI file. What happens is they add on to it. So if they add on to it too much, then you rise up. Now you can ask under Freedom of Information Privacy Act for your file, But if they don't want you to know what they've been looking at you at, they redact everything. They just redact. They say, oh, well, you know, they were at this and they were at that. You don't even know what your file says. So that's another problem. We're really sitting in the back seat when it comes to our privacy, and we're sitting in our back seat when it comes to transparency.
Yeah, I could talk to you about this stuff all day. I have one more question regarding elections, our elections. Is the FBI, is the CIA meddling in a very real way with our elections and pulling the strings on who gets elected and when?
Yeah, so all the private money is meddling, but the FBI has been asked to look away, not investigate. On cheating, on voter fraud, they're not allowed to investigate voter fraud right now. They've been given a directive from Christopher Wray and the top floor, don't go after anybody who's cheating on the elections. The private money is going in to fund all that cheating. They're paying ballot harvesters, they're paying people. You saw what happened in Connecticut, you know, stuffing. That's just going to happen because the money's there for it.
Yeah.
But the FBI should be tracking it down, stopping it, because we won't have a country if you can't vote and get our people elected.
Yeah, it's a third world country. Sir, thank you so much for your time. Where can people learn more about you? Do you have a social media?
Yeah, I have a website. It's called The Mitchuation.
Okay, The Mitchuation.
TheMitchuation.com. And I have some, and then I have 2 books. One is called The FBI Killing 2 Stones.
Got one here, one here, right? Yep.
Yeah, Media Malpractice, More Dangerous Than Coronavirus. And the FBI Lying, Leaking, and Losing.
Cool. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you.
people can go to your website, check it out, and we appreciate you joining us. Thanks.
Thank you.
Awesome.